The Forgotten Morning. The Galactic Council had ruled the universe for thousands of years. Many civilizations had risen and fallen under their control. But there was one thing that all ancient records agreed upon. One warning that echoed through the ages. Do not disturb Earth. Do not wake the humans. Most believed it was a myth. A story told to frighten young aliens. A tale from a time when the universe was still wild and chaotic. But there were a few who whispered that the warning was real, that something terrible would happen if humans ever returned. The warning had been ignored. A group of explorers from the Fourth Empire had arrived on Earth. Their mission was simple: investigate the long-abandoned planet and retrieve any lost technology. The Vorthans were known for their hunger for power. They believed that any knowledge from ancient civilizations could help them expand their control over the galaxy. Their leader, Commander Rethar, stood on the bridge of his ship, looking down at the blue and green planet. His scientists had scanned the surface. There were no signs of life, only ruins and dust. Just an old, dead world, Rethar said with a smirk. The warnings were nothing but ghost stories. His second-in-command, an analyst named Vek, frowned. Sir, the records say that humans were different. They were not like other species. They were. Rethar waved a hand dismissively. They were weak. That is why they are gone. The Vorthan landing team descended onto Earth. They found broken cities, empty streets, and silent machines buried under the dirt. But deep inside a hidden bunker, they discovered something unexpected. A massive structure covered in symbols that no one could understand. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Vek's scanners beeped wildly. Commander, this place, it is not just a ruin. It is still active. Rethar laughed. Impossible. This world is dead. Then the ground began to shake. A deep hum filled the air, and a hidden console lit up with red warning symbols. The symbols pulsed, as if something had been waiting for a command. One of the Vorthan scientists, a young researcher, hesitated. Commander, I think we should leave. Now. But Rethar was too arrogant. Nonsense. If this is human technology, we will take it. He stepped forward and touched the console. A loud sound ripped through the bunker, a voice speaking in an ancient human language. It was a voice filled with authority, with power. Though the aliens did not understand the words, the meaning was clear. The air inside the ancient bunker grew heavy. The red warning symbols flashed faster, and the deep hum in the walls turned into a roar. Dust fell from the ceiling as something massive, something powerful, was coming back to life. Commander Rethar stumbled backward, his eyes wide. What is happening? Vek's scanners beeped uncontrollably. Sir, this is impossible. The energy levels are rising at an extreme rate. This structure is waking up. The bunker was not just a building. It was a control center. And now, after centuries of silence, it had been activated. The voice spoke again, its tone calm but final. Reinitializing. System scan in progress. Identifying intruders. Rethar turned to his soldiers. Shut it down. Now. One of the scientists frantically pressed buttons on his tablet, trying to override the system. It's not working. This is running on technology we don't understand. Then the voice changed. It was no longer a system alert. It was something else, something alive. Unregistered species detected. Unauthorized access. Defensive protocols engaged. Suddenly, the walls split open, revealing long dormant machines. Sleek, humanoid figures stepped out of their hidden chambers. They were made of metal and strange fibers, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They were not human, but they were built by them. Sir, Vek whispered in horror, I think we just woke up Earth's last guardians. The machines scanned the Vorthans. A new voice echoed through the bunker, one filled with something the aliens had never expected. Target identified. Enemy confirmed. Begin elimination. The first machine moved, faster than anything Rethar had ever seen. The first shot was fired, and the war for Earth had begun. The first machine lunged forward. Before the Vorthan soldiers could react, a blur of motion tore through the air. A deafening boom echoed through the bunker as the nearest soldier was lifted off his feet and thrown against the wall, his armor crumpling like paper. Commander Rethar's instincts screamed at him to retreat, but his pride held him in place. "Open fire," he bellowed. Energy weapons roared to life, sending streaks of plasma toward the machines. But something was wrong. The projectiles never made contact. They bent midair, vanishing before they could strike. "What is this?" Vec gasped, his scanner flickering in confusion. "Our weapons, they're useless." The humanoid machines did not stop. They moved with terrifying precision, their glowing eyes locking onto their targets. One of them raised its arm, and in an instant, a blue arc of energy erupted from its hand. A Vorthan soldier screamed as his body convulsed before collapsing into a heap, smoke rising from his lifeless form. Rethar clenched his jaw. "Fall back. Now." The soldiers scrambled toward the exit, but the bunker had other plans. The massive doors that once stood open slammed shut with a thunderous crash, sealing them inside. Containment protocol engaged. No unauthorized beings may leave. Vec's claws trembled over his device. "Commander, we're trapped." Rethar turned, his mind racing. "Then we fight." But deep inside, he knew the truth. They had awakened something far beyond their understanding. And now, they were at its mercy. The chamber was massive, stretching beyond what their eyes could see. Strange machines hummed softly, their surfaces covered in frost. Rows of towering glass pods lined the walls, each one pulsing with dim blue light. Rethar stepped forward cautiously, his breath visible in the unnatural cold. His soldiers followed, weapons drawn but useless against something they didn't understand. The silence was thick, pressing against their ears like a warning. Then Vec whispered, "Commander, look at them." Rethar turned his gaze to the nearest pod and felt his stomach tighten. Inside the glass, suspended in an eerie liquid, was a human. But not just any human. This one was unlike the fragile creatures they had studied. Its body was thick with dense muscle, scars running across its arms like battle marks from wars fought long ago. Its eyes were closed, its face expressionless, but something about it felt wrong, ancient, dangerous. One of the soldiers stepped closer, pressing a trembling hand against the glass. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the blue light flickered, and the human's eyes snapped open. The soldier stumbled back with a sharp cry. Inside the pod, the human didn't move, but its gaze locked onto them. Cold, calculating, alive. An alarm blared through the chamber. The deep mechanical voice of an old security system echoed through the halls. Containment breach detected. Awakening sequence initiated. The pods around them hissed. One by one, the lights began to change, blue fading to red. The hum of the machines grew into a deafening roar. Something beneath them rumbled, as if the entire facility was stirring. Rethar's heart pounded. They had found something they were never meant to see. And now, it was waking up. The bunker trembled beneath their feet. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the walls groaned like a beast stirring from a long slumber. Rethar felt his throat tighten. This wasn't just a facility. It was alive, responding to their presence in ways beyond his comprehension. The machines had ignored their surrender. They had ignored everything. Instead, they were preparing for something far worse. The screen flickered again, and this time, the message was different. Containment breach detected. Primary defense activation. Imminent. A deep mechanical hiss filled the room. The air turned cold. Somewhere beyond the thick metal walls, something massive began to move. "Commander," Vec whispered, his voice barely steady, "we have to leave. Now." "Do you think I don't know that?" Rethar snapped. He was trying to think, but every plan led to the same conclusion. Escape was impossible. One of the machines turned its head toward them. It didn't attack. It didn't speak. It simply stepped aside. And that's when they saw it. The door. It hadn't been there before, but now, a massive archway had opened at the far end of the chamber, revealing a tunnel bathed in eerie red light. Beyond it, they could hear something. Breathing. The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. None of them wanted to go through. None of them wanted to see what lay ahead. But staying here wasn't an option. Rethar clenched his fists. They had come this far. There was no turning back now. Steeling himself, he stepped forward. And the tunnel swallowed them whole. The red warning lights pulsed like a heartbeat, casting long shadows across the chamber. Steam hissed from the ancient machinery, and the eerie hum of power surging through the facility sent a shiver through Rethar's spine. The humans were waking up. One by one, the glass pods unlocked with a sharp hiss. The liquid inside drained rapidly, exposing the motionless bodies of the creatures they had tried so hard to forget. The first pod's occupant stepped forward, muscles flexing as if testing long unused strength. The second followed, then the third. Vorthan soldiers raised their weapons, hands shaking. This was not a battle they were ready for. Rethar gritted his teeth, his mind racing. "Hold your fire," he barked, but even he wasn't sure if that was the right call. The lead human, taller than the others, with piercing eyes that saw too much, studied them in silence. His gaze lingered on Rethar, then flicked to the crumbling walls around them. His voice, when he finally spoke, was calm. Too calm. "How long?" The alien commander hesitated. You were sealed away over 10,000 cycles ago." The human exhaled slowly, his expression unreadable. Then he turned to his kind, now fully awake, stretching, testing their limbs. A ghost of a smirk touched his lips. "Then it's time we remind the universe what we are." The words sent a chill through Rethar. Something about the way he said them, like a promise, like a threat, made the Vorthan commander understand just how deeply they had miscalculated. The air around them grew heavy. The facility trembled. And then, with a force Rethar couldn't comprehend, the humans moved. Faster than anything he had ever seen. Faster than his soldiers could react. The first human reached a Vorthan soldier and, with one swift motion, disarmed him effortlessly. The soldier collapsed, groaning, before the human even broke stride. Another human vanished into the shadows. Seconds later, 2 more Vorthans were down. No blood, just speed, precision, and something far worse. Control. They weren't just strong. They were experienced. They knew exactly how to dismantle their enemies without even breaking a sweat. Rethar stumbled back. His mind screamed at him to run. But deep down, he knew there was nowhere left to go. The forgotten warriors of humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The ground rumbled beneath their feet, and the air seemed to crackle with an energy that felt alien to even the bravest of Vorthan warriors. The humans were no longer the forgotten race, the ones hidden away in ancient vaults. They had awoken, and the universe was about to learn the cost of that mistake. Rethar's heart raced as he surveyed the battlefield. His soldiers were scattered, many incapacitated or too terrified to move. The humans didn't speak much. Their actions said everything. They were in control. A human in the front stepped forward. His eyes locked on Rethar. He was taller than the others, but there was no mistaking the weight of his stare. It was like he could see through Rethar's very soul. The air between them felt thick, the tension palpable. "So, what's your plan now?" the human asked, his voice calm but carrying a cold certainty that struck terror in the hearts of those who heard it. Rethar opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. What could he say? The galaxy had ruled with arrogance, dismissing humanity as nothing more than a fading memory, a species left behind. They had underestimated them. "The galaxy. We didn't expect this," Rethar muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. The human's lips twisted into a thin smile. "You thought you could trap us, lock us away in your forgotten corners. But that was your first mistake. Another human, much younger but just as confident, stepped up beside the first. And this, she gestured around them, is the consequence. The humans weren't just warriors. They were a force. They fought with a determination no alien had ever seen. Their battle tactics were flawless, not out of raw strength alone, but because they had mastered the art of survival. There was no honor in their fighting. There was only victory. And the Vorthins had never encountered such a mindset before. Rethar turned to his commanders, who were struggling to keep their ground. Their eyes, wide with disbelief, met his. There was no way out. The humans were systematically dismantling their forces. They didn't just defeat their enemies. They made them feel helpless. No more, Rethar muttered, his voice filled with the weight of a bitter realization. We should have never underestimated them. The human leader laughed softly, a sound that made Rethar shudder. Underestimate. We're not a species you can just forget. We adapt. We learn. And now, you will learn the true meaning of humanity's power. In an instant, the humans closed the distance. The Vorthins, despite their advanced weaponry, couldn't keep up. The human warriors moved with the precision of a storm, their bodies shifting between strikes, each one calculated, devastating. There was no mercy. There was no second chance. The tide had turned, and the Vorthin forces had no choice but to retreat. There was no hope left for them. Humanity had become the unstoppable force they had always feared, but never taken seriously. Rethar's knees buckled beneath him as he fell to the ground. His mind screamed for answers, for some way to end this madness, but he knew there was no escape. The humans weren't here for power. They weren't here for control. They were here because they had been awakened, and they would never be put down again. The universe had one rule: never wake the humans. And now it was too late.